As Lehnhofs, we used to feel lucky that we never had any serious illness or accidents in the family, not even any broken bones. Then all of a sudden, Hal was in a coma after a head-on collision with a drunk driver. After quite an ordeal, he came out okay. We weren't so fortunate with Steve. In 1990, he was diagnosed with cancer on the esophagus. He had an operation and seemed to be on the road to remission until cancer was again discovered, this time in the liver. It's hard to watch while cancer does its work. It's especially frustrating when you see it sap the strength of someone who is doing so much to help other people. Not long ago, Steven Spielberg made a movie about Oskar Schindler, a businessman who helped Jews escape the death camps of World War II. This will sound strange, but the movie reminds me of Steve. Let me explain. Schindler's List shows the tragic suffering of the Jewish people at the hands of the brutal Nazi commanders. The movie is frank as innocent victims are stripped of everything they own and treated like animals. Steve has also been brutalized, except in his case, the villain is a disease from within. The heart of the Schindler story is the growing obsession of one man to do all he could to save as many men, women, and children as possible. He did it by making lists, bribing German officials, and then shipping the Jews off to work in the safety of his factories. As time went on, he cared less and less about the work of the factories and more about saving lives, about adding names to the list. Steve also has a list. In fact, Steve has many, many lists. Unlike Schindler, Steve's was not a singular obsession, but a lifetime of service in his family, in his profession, in his church, and in his community. As an individual on Schindler's List, you were saved from death camps. As an individual on Steven's List, you might be saved from fear, from neglect, from self-doubt, or from wrong choices. Or maybe it was more subtle. Perhaps you simply consider yourself a little better off because Steve crossed your path. Maybe you're one of the many who couldn't help but warm up to his undying optimism and encouragement. At school, Steve was the kind of teacher you hope is still out there working with your children. He cares. A fellow teacher once said, he compares teaching strategies to specific tools in a toolbox and encourages us to use each tool to best advantage. At church, Steve worked in so many capacities, lifting people up to higher ground, especially the young people. Of course, the most important list is the family list, and certainly his wife and children are among the most fortunate benefactors of his service. His influence will live on through them. So is he perfect? No. But I'll put him up against just about anybody you can come up with. I know that's kind of cocky, but give a proud brother a little slack. In the end, Oskar Schindler faced a great crowd of Jews, ever grateful for the work he had done. I wish we could stage such a gathering for Steve. Think of it. All the people on all the lists. For now, Steve, just know we are all out there, and we say thank you. Steve's recent setbacks cause us sadness. I console myself with the images I have locked away in my mind. I prefer to think of him not as he suffers now, but as the young boy and young man he was. Of all the images I can think of, this is the one I will hold on to the tightest. For me, it's how I see my brother moving into the next world, full of energy, exuberant, and probably just itching to start a new list. Only now he's carrying a great big toolbox, full of experiences, to help others.